Welcome back, everybody. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I hope you're ready for the weekend. Todd Leary, the Todd Father, with us. Brought to you by myjumpshot.com. For any and everyone who has someone who needs to work on that jump shot, because let me tell you, shooting today sucks. But not always. There are some people that can shoot the rock, man.
There's one we know of.
Oh my God. Yeah, we were talking about this in the break. I hadn't mentioned it all day. Caitlin Clark, of course, breaks the NCAA women's scoring record last night. And caveat, there are like two other records above her still. Before the NCAA started regulating women's basketball in like 82 or whatever, the AIAW ran women's basketball. If you see Indiana women have a banner in Assembly Hall from maybe a Final Four appearance there, I think. But there is a woman that has that scoring record, and then another lady from the 70s, Pearl Washington. How could it not? What a perfect name. She was the original Pearl. She had like 4,000 points.
She was Pearl Washington before Earl the Pearl?
I'm pretty sure that was her name.
You fact check that?
But Earl, his name was Earl. They nicknamed him the Pearl. Her name is Pearl, which was crazy. But yeah, Caitlin Clark, not only did she set the record last night, she set a career high with 49 points. First, how do you not let her get 50? Just go let her get one more shot. But anyway, 49 points. She obliterates.
Because what, Jim? Because what, Jim? You think she would have got more publicity if she scored 50?
Oh no, they ran. Oh my God, they ran that thing. I was like, can we switch this over to the Purdue game?
It was the breaking news ticker thing scrolling across the bottom of the screen the whole night.
It goes awesome. Right along with Taylor Swift.
I watched her play the beginning. I wanted to watch until she broke the record last night, and it took 3 shots. And I'll tell you what I found. This is why I really respect her and enjoy her, is because she even said in an interview prior to the game, like days before the game, she wanted the record breaker to be a logo distance 3.
Hey, that's Larry Bird stuff right there.
This is Larry Bird holding his finger up. This is Michael Jordan with the I can't miss symbol. This is all like she has embraced it. And you cannot possibly if you enjoy sports, you can't not enjoy, especially if you enjoy basketball, you can't not enjoy to watch her play. And I'm an Indiana fan. I want to support Indiana women's basketball the most. I get that. She's playing IU next Thursday night. Can't wait to watch that game. But she is must watch TV.
Well, Indiana fans, they better become more accepting of her, because there is a better than average chance that she's going to be playing at the next stop out of Indianapolis with the Fever, since they have the number 1 pick in the WNBA. And her boyfriend is Connor McCaffrey, who happens to work for the Indiana Pacers.
Does he really?
So, yes, I didn't know that either. I just discovered that. So I'm like, yep, she's coming out. But not only that, though, Todd, she's one of only 6 women ever to have 1,000 assists.
Yeah, hey, I looked at her stat line last night, and I mean,
that's remarkable.
It's not like she's always looking to get someone. Like, she's always looking to make the pass and get someone open. She's just a fantastic player. Like, we shouldn't enjoy watching her play, because outside of Purdue, there's nowhere worse we'd rather her be. Like, we don't want to root for someone that's at Iowa, but she's entertaining. She's brought a whole different light to that. And you know, I heard Robbie Hummel say this the other day on the radio or on TV, and I don't know, when he first said it, I chuckled, and then I started thinking, I'm like, you know what, he might be right. And he said, because LeBron went straight to the NBA, Social media is a different animal now than it ever was back, even 10 years ago. But she's the most famous college athlete of all time. I think that's true. Like, I mean, I can't possibly. I've tried to think of it for several days. I can't come up with someone that's a more well-known college athlete.
She is definitely the most promoted, without question. ESPN was milking that, and hey, that's what that's their job.
State Farm commercials, like she's national commercials everywhere. Like, I know that couldn't happen years ago. I understand it's but that's why I think that I think that statement is accurate. Like, she is probably the most famous college athlete of all time.
We talked about her, some of the shots she takes are just, if it was anybody else, you'd say, what the hell are you doing, you idiot?
Here's the thing. You remember me saying
these things.
You remember me saying this last week when we talked, and we were talking about Gabe Cupps, and I said, and we used CJ Gunn as another example, and we said, you know what, those guys have got to come in and take a risk. There are going to be no plays drawn up for them to shoot a logo 3. Okay? There is not a play set up for Caitlin Clark to shoot a logo 3. Okay. Now, she's proven over time that she can make it, but I bet that first one she shot, whenever that was, I bet
Lisa Bluter blew up.
I'll bet she looked around like, what in the world is going on around here? And someone on Indiana's men's basketball team has to take that risk. And the hard part is there's not a whole lot of margin for error. They got to take that risk, and they got to be successful at it. Because if you make your first 2, I'll tell you not to shoot them anymore. It's like when Edey shot a 3-pointer against Indiana.
My God.
I mean, they can't tell him not to shoot another one.
He hit it.
Not to shoot it. I know.
He's shooting 50% in his career now. We were talking about the very probability that she's going to wind up in Indiana with the Fever next year. And you're talking about you better hope that she lands with a coach that will allow that. And I'm like, well, who the hell's not going to allow that? And you said,
I mean, if Coach Knight were in a situation like I'll tell you this, Jay Edwards, in my opinion, like Steve Alford was my favorite player growing up, just age wise, he lined up perfectly that was my idol growing up. And he was just I don't know how someone could argue there's a better shooter than him. But Jay Edwards was probably the best tough shot maker, distance,
clutch
3-point shooter. Yeah,
clutch.
he was
a clutch
shooter. And if you polled players that played with him, I don't think anyone would argue with the fact of he was on a different level than most people. And he wouldn't hardly have been allowed to come down and shoot the shots that she shoots. And I can tell you, if he did, you better make 70% of them. Because if you made 2 in a row and missed your next 5, you're not going to shoot another one. For Coach Knight, that's just the way that it was. So that's all I'm saying about Caitlin Clark. Like, I'll tell you this: if you went and asked Steve Kerr, when Steph Curry retires, the next guard that comes in plays for them, is he going to be allowed to shoot the same shot Steph Curry shoots? No. So all I'm saying, my analogy with that is the coach for, let's just say, the Indiana Fever select her number 1. The coach at Indiana is going to have to adjust and maybe adapt a little different philosophy or a little different game plan or a little different offense to incorporate some of the things that she brings to the game that they've never coached before. Steve Kerr has never played with nor coached another player like Steph Curry. And whatever team she goes to in the NBA will never have coached or played with a player that was anywhere near like Caitlin Clark. And so that's why I'm saying it's going to be an adjustment for everyone, because the players that she plays with, let's say it's the Indiana Fever, they're not just going to walk in and all of a sudden say, okay, well, here's the ball, take us to the promised land. They all think they got egos. They think they can play too. And the first time she comes down or the first 3 times she comes down the floor and shoots a logo 3 and doesn't make it, they're going to be like, hey, how about you? You know, we're talented too. How about you give us a shot here? But on the flip side of that, if she shoots 3 of them and makes them, say a word, they're just going to sell tickets.
And her teammates love it because they keep winning. And that's.
Look at that arena last night. That place was a zoo. It was a madhouse. What's it going to look like next year? You know, hey, and I hope all of women's games all over the country sell out. I wish every atmosphere was like that because that's just fun. Everyone will tell you that's just fun. But I mean, she's a generational talent. Like, it's not going to be that way next year, and we all know that.
Yep, and I'm already thinking ahead to her and Stephanie Ionscu in a 3-point shooting contest. Much like Saturday night, you're going to have Steph Curry and Ionscu in a 3-point shooting contest, and she's shooting from the NBA 23-9 mark. Who you got?
Yeah, I mean,
she currently holds the record for.
Would you ever bet against Steph Curry? Like, I mean, I wouldn't. Did you see the shot he made from the tunnel? Did you see the shot he made from the tunnel the other night?
No.
He made a shot from the tunnel to the opposite, heaving it like that. Everyone was filming it, obviously. Heaving it all the way down the court, so way longer than a full court shot. He was in the tunnel. Like underneath, people are filming it down like this, and he heaved it to the other end of the court and made it.
That's crazy.
That dude's a freak.
One other thing I want to bring up, and I wish you should be the coach. Indiana desperately needs a TBT team. First. Secondly, Hinkle Fieldhouse is going to host a TBT event.
Oh, are they really?
At this one, yes. So can you imagine if you had a Butler? Butler's going to have a team. Butler, Purdue has a team. If Indiana had a team, Notre Dame. Well, I don't. Notre Dame, maybe not. Who knows? But the first 3, Butler, Indiana, Purdue. No reason. How does Indiana not have a freaking TBT team other than? I will say this. Indiana produces more NBA talent than those other teams. So you've got 7 or 8 guys that are currently in the NBA that have come off of the rosters more recently and can't play. And then I guess then it just runs into scheduling from there for guys that may be out of the country. I'm not sure. You would know better than me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll just say this. Like, take an enormous beating. Like it, you know, like I wake up today at 53 years old and you know, parts of me hurt. And a lot of that's from basketball from a long time ago. Imagine these guys. I only played 2 years out of college. Imagine these guys that are playing 8-10 years overseas. Like the amount and factor in when I was a kid, we played maybe 10 or 12 AAU games in a summer. These teams nowadays are playing 12 in a weekend. Or they're maybe not 12, but I mean they're playing. There's a decent chance they play 7 or 8 basketball games in a weekend. Think about what their bodies are going to be like when they get older. All I'm saying is it's hard. Like it's not. You have to find the right group of guys. Indiana just hasn't had the right group of guys graduate that wanted to continue on. I mean, Jordan Holes would have been a perfect person to kind of be on that. Like. There's no way you could have that team and not have him. I mean, he's only not been playing for a year now. Like, there's no way you could have that team and not have him play. Like, he'd be perfect for that.